Sunday morning at the lab. Let's drill some holes in some things and make things lighter. So, back in the day when I did this four-wheel drive conversion, there was some shortcuts used to make things happen quickly. It was a relatively quick turnaround from two-wheel drive with a 6-speed manual box that was exploding. Well, it blew up twice, right? It was going to be a regular occurrence. We just pushed the limits too far, and it was not going to handle it anymore. So got this done quite quickly. Things like this were done. This is literally a piece of steel plate. I don't know how wide that is. That wide. To spread the load of mounting the diff in the front of the car onto a car that was never ever designed to have this sort of power, let alone four-wheel drive. I mean, to be fair, it had the drive in the front end of the vehicle, but not a 350Z diff, which probably weighs, that diff probably weighs more than the entire gearbox that this car had originally. So things like this were done, and that's fine. It's work. It's not cracked or anything. It's definitely doing its job. It doesn't need to be as grunty as that. So let's put some holes in here to take some weight. Plus what was taken off around the outside from the actual hole saw. Oh yeah, come back. I want to weigh you. I'm not going to weigh that. We're not going to weigh absolutely everything. That looks better, doesn't it? Apart from the absolute rubbish paintwork on there, but that's fine. This is all. Let's just stop it rusting. That'll do. There's a few more things that can come out of here. They're a little bit harder to manage. These inserted or captivated nuts, or whatever you want to call them. That bracket there got some more holes. 1, 2, 3. These holes that you see here, these are the new holes to move the diff down and across towards the passenger side. Your passenger side. Edge distance, not great on these two here. It's fine on that one. No problem at all on that one. Could fill in the original holes. Those two bolts there will do all the work that needs to be done. These two are just really just to clap and say well done. A few of those sorted out. I need to use that one, so that's not done. That is quite close to there, but this piece here doesn't. It's not really doing a lot. It's just stopping that frame that runs across there from twisting and giving us somewhere, a bit of a platform to mount that stuff on. A couple of others removed, looking pretty tidy. Now, they were all pretty easy because over on the bench here, look at all the stuff we've taken out already, and I've only been out here a little while. They had relatively small captivated nuts in them. That one was an 8, this one was a 6. So the drill just goes straight through the guts of those and holds the actual hole saw steady, and they come out piece of cake. These puppies here, these are bigger. So the drill will be floppy. Hang on. Hole saws don't work when things are like that. They break the drill and it's all yucky, or it makes a terrible looking hole. So here's something I prepared earlier. Ta-da! Magic, eh? So I've got a mate in Aussie who reckons I need to go through all the bolts in this car and drill the centre out of them to save weight. I mean, that would work, but you want to be careful what bolts you do that to. So you just pop that puppy in there. So we just do that. And away we go. I'm not going to show you drilling the whole way through that because it's going to take ages. It's quite thick where those are. And there's 5, 6 that I can see on this side that need to come out. And none on that side. Just like that. Oh no, it's a booby trap. It's hard. I said booby. That one's a bit harder than what it looks. Looks like, oh yeah, it's just a little bit deeper thread than the other ones. Drill that out. He's still stuck in there. He no moving. Because inside here, there's more structure holding the back of that. That is a... Oh, here we go. There it is there. That is a real tricky one. There's actually a lot of crap hanging off the end of that. Good news and bad news. Good news is it's out. Bad news is there's a whopping great big piece of structure in behind this inside here that we don't really need, but we're not going to be able to get it out. It's many folded pieces, and it's actually Got spot welds running all the way along here to about here somewhere. Even my mount here that I've got is actually attached to that under there. And you can't drill far enough from this side to get that puppy out. So what I did was actually put a pilot drill through here, all the way through to the other side of the chassis. Ta-da! And then you can drill through from that side and know that it wasn't perfect. But yeah, it was close enough. And we got that piece out that I wanted to get out. So I'll put a little patch over the top of that. Just because it'll look tidier. It's not going to significantly affect the strength of our chassis rail. It's interesting, Nissan went to the trouble. It's pretty common with aircraft. You see milled skins all the time and not so much with cars. This here is a thinner section of material than that steps up. It must be 1/2 mil or something like that. You can measure it. So they've gone to all the trouble of, however they've done it, they won't have milled it. They would have pressed it or rolled it or something. So this is thinner, and then when it gets to the firewall, they've made it thicker. This is all to do with frontal impact and crumple zones and stuff, and they've done it on both of chassis rails, on both sides. So it's just in here somewhere. Hang on, did I lie just then? No, I didn't. There it is. It gets thicker there as well. So that's interesting. It's all about keeping the sacks of meat and bones and stuff and those things in there safe, and just squish all the front of this, but not what's in there. So interesting. Nearly forgot to show you. It's hot. It's burning my fingers. That's that mess. That was really hot. That's quite a chunk of metal. So just that one piece alone, it weighs close to half of everything else that we've taken out this morning, so it was worth doing. The spaceship sounding thing that sounds like the bloody ET phone home is firing up, ready to go. She's come out, she's on the bench. I'm not taking the piss. Our kitchen scales only go up to 5 kgs, and just picking that up and putting it on the bench, I think we're well past that. Now there's going to be, you guys can guess at the weight here. I haven't yet. I think it's more than 5 kgs. That's as far as I've gone. Let's call it 500 grams for this panel and the aluminium there, and the rest of it is all... Not joking, that's pretty weighty. It's Opel Vectra or Holden Astra conglomeration of... Oh, come on. What have we got there? 6.5 kgs. So I was right. It was more than what the kitchen scales would do. Not as heavy as I thought. I was expecting 10 out of that, to be honest. Still pretty weighty. Let's put this lower radiator support back in and find out what's actually crooked on the car, because these bits here look pretty straight. They look terrible. They look rusty and manky, and let's not call that structure anymore. It's a flimsy bracket, and given how flimsy that is, it might not even need to be there anymore. We might be able to rely on other things to hold things for us. Right, we'll go and retrieve some of this and put it back on the car. Alright, big improvement there. We've got some actual reasonable gaps now. Pretty much what you would expect from non-messed with factory Nissan March. They're about, I mean, they might look a little bit bigger on camera. They're about 3-4 millimeter gaps. To be fair, that's a little bit bigger there than the rest of it is, but otherwise pretty good. So a few things going on there. Under here, that's actually broken. Sure, that doesn't help. Obviously had excessive forces on it due to probably me falling off the racetrack and going into the sand trap or something like that. Other thing that's going on, this custom piece that I've made here, that's actually too wide by about 2-3 millimeters, something like that, and it just pushes the headlights out a little bit from where they should be. Now I'm going to annoy you all. I'm going to put some weight back in the car Because I showed you these things flopping around like, well, there you are there. Look at this. Floppy, floppy, flop. No good at all. Interesting, you get the bumper on there attached to what's left of things to attach, and it's still sitting crooked. So I've got to figure out how that is actually happening and correct that. Of course, there's broken tabs everywhere. It doesn't help. By the time you straighten that, it's still a little bit close on that corner of the bonnet, but it just has been that way from the get-go. So time to make those brackets under the headlights there and get some corrections going on while we're at it. We've got this much room here to get a bracket. It'll be the same on the other side, or near enough to. So at this point I can, I think I've trimmed this here for a reason. I think I did have it sitting a little bit lower earlier, maybe when it was two-wheel drive. So we can come up with something that supports this general area. This is probably a good place to start because this is the furthermost bolt hole that we've got. Attached to this stuff somehow. Do something. I think I spent far too much time on that bracket, but it's a thing of beauty and it's pretty goddamn strong. Oh, I shouldn't swear, but I think that's sufficient for a little race car. We're only attaching to like flimsy bits of plastic and little bits of panel steel that just got no guts to them at all, really. So that's stronger than everything it's attaching to, and it does exactly what it needs to do. It supports that corner of the car. So I'll make another one for the other side. The bolt that holds it weighs more than the car, but remember that bolt that we drilled a hole in? Hey now, I'm thinking it's the same thread. I can make another one of those. I'm not joking, I might do that. That's heaps of thread. Bye bye, you'll be missed. I'll put that in there and I'll make another one for the other side. That's it, we're out of day. It's well after 5 o'clock on a Sunday, so I really need to get inside. That's about as good as we're going to get it. There's a few bits of duct tape, including holding in the middle there. I didn't quite get that bracket finished. I made a start on it. It went wrong. Called it a day. So that's going to be better. Anyway, and I guess everyone's going to want to know, bearing in mind, for every one of these, there's the width of the hole saw plus the wobbling, so we'll conservatively add 10% to that. We won't weigh that nut and bolt. Sorry, bolt and washer. Turn these puppies on. Those two brackets have now given those corners some support they didn't have before. Basically, those panels that are on the outside that have got the fake carbon fibre on them, they are essentially a structural panel. So the way they've been made is to try and give the whole front end a bit of strength. It's not potentially not really the way to do it, but it was the way it was done. So going forward, if I muck around and put carbon fibre and everything on it, which, thinking about it, that's not going to have the structural integrity that the aluminium has got, which is why we need to try and beef up all this front end to give itself its own support to hold itself and not rely on the panels on the outside of it, because they won't do that anymore. That big crash bar thing, that's definitely got to go, but I'm thinking we need to put something back that's lighter and more suitable to hold our front splitter. So I want to do something with that as well. 3mm thick, or it might be more than 3mm actually, I should measure it. Sign board, alu-clad, or whatever they want to call it, which is, it's a composite material if we want to get fancy about it. It's plastic with aluminium laminated to either side of it. So technically it's composite, but it's sign board if we want to downplay it. That's, I mean, it's not terribly heavy for what it is, but it's heavier than it needs to be. If we got some, there's various options for other things. Some people use plywood. Not going to happen. I'm not using plywood on my car. It's, I mean, yeah, it kind of works, and they do make aeroplanes from plywood. Look up the spruce goose. It works, but it's not the way I want to be doing it. Okay, enough. I'm going to go inside, get a drink. I mean, it looks like a car again. Long way to go, though. All right, see you tomorrow. Cheers, bye.